Welcome to Fearless Females, where ambition meets resilience. Meet your guide, Lorie Jones, owner of Fearless Financial Advisors. Join her and remarkable women executives as they uncover the triumphs and transformative moments shaping extraordinary careers. Ready to be fearless? Let the journey begin.
Good morning, and I'm so excited you've joined us here today. Today we are talking to Cary. And Cary is a financial advisor like me. The thing that I enjoyed most about her story is just that it wasn't a very linear path and it wasn't easy. So I always like hearing stories about people who do something amazing despite difficulties. And Cary has started over again and again. She's seen just about every side of this industry that I love. And she's just shown up in a way that is so real. I loved listening to how she handled those little setbacks along her path. And actually, they weren't very little. They were actually pretty big. I love hearing about the becoming, not just the success part, because she is very successful, but the becoming part. There were two ideas in here that I really liked. One is that you don't really need to fit into one box. You can be a lot of different things. You can be a financial advisor, you can be a marketer, you can be a speaker, you can be an author, and you can be all of those different things at the same time. And the second is that confidence just isn't optional. She believed in herself from the very beginning, and she fought for that all the way through her whole story. And you have to decide, I think, that you belong in the room before anyone else will believe it. And you have to fight for that. So I loved her story of grit and determination and overcoming. And I really hope that you enjoy it too. Let's get started. Good morning, Fearless Females. So we are here today with Cary Carbonaro, and she is a Women in Wealth Ambassador. I loved it. We were just chatting about all the different titles that she had, and she said, I got to choose the one that I liked the best, and that was the one I liked the best. So thank you so much for joining us today, Cary. I really appreciate it.
So happy to be here with you, Lorie.
So my first question is always the same, and I love it. It is, I'm a reader. I love any and all suggestions. What is your favorite book?
My favorite book is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It is a very old school book. It's probably, I don't know, it's over 100 years old. It might even be 150 years old. Super old school, written back in the day, early 1900s. And it has the same wisdom that can be applied to this day. It is incredibly classic advice about how you can get a wealth mindset. And then once you have it, there's nothing stopping you from becoming rich. And everybody can become rich.
Yeah. And isn't it so interesting? Like, I've noticed that even in my own career, that those things that have been around for years and years and years, like spend less, save more, like those sorts of like basic concepts, they kind of are timeless. That idea of thinking and growing rich is the same as it was in the 1900s if you boil it down to its base.
It's incredible. And it's just, to me, he interviewed, all the millionaires of the time, which would be the billionaires of today. And it's the same incredible wisdom that still holds true.
Okay. I think I've read that one, but if I don't remember it, then I should put it back in my rotation again.
Yes, it's a good one. You could read that one over and over. That's one that, it's almost like subliminal messaging in your brain. It's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about your journey. Tell my listeners kind of how you got started, how you got where you're at, what you're doing today. Just a little bit about you.
Sure. So, I started out of college working for a bank, working for JP Morgan Chase. I was in the management training program, and I spent my early careers working one-on-one with clients but higher net worth clients, because I was in like the private banking side of the business. So I worked with, wealthier individuals, and I knew right away that I was very good at the relationship part of the business. And it was definitely not where I wanted to end up, but it was a great first place to start. So I spent my formative years, my early years in the banking industry, one-on-one with clients. Then I got my MBA at night, and I went and decided to move into the marketing end of the business, which I also really love marketing. And so first I worked for marketing at JP Morgan Chase. Then I went and worked in marketing for Citibank. And then I went to run marketing, or at least e-marketing for Lord Abbett mutual funds. And so I was a very young age, working on Wall Street and making a lot of money at a very young age. And I was, I guess, about in my 30s, early 30s. And then I married Mr. Wrong, which is part of the story. And I wound up from Manhattan to Central Florida. And when I wound up in Central Florida, I was overqualified for every job at the time. This was like around 9/11 time. And so first I halved my salary, then I quartered my salary. And then I said, I'm not getting out of bed for a quarter of my salary. So then I was like, I'm going to dust my CFP off the shelf, and I'm going to start taking clients one at a time. So I started my practice around 2002. And I started, one at a time taking clients, but I wasn't really 100% sure that this is what I wanted to do. And then my dad died. I know this is like a really long story, but then my dad died in 2005, and I was in a terrible marriage with this terrible man. And I kind of like lost my footing at that moment in time. And I was like, oh my God, now that my dad's gone, I actually have to get serious about what I'm going to do with my life. So I'm going to go all in on this profession. And so I started to get serious in 2006 about this profession. And then 2008 happened in the financial crisis. And also that's when my divorce started. So then I went through a whole tumultuous disaster of 2008 to 2011. It took me that long to get divorced.
Oh,
And
wow.
in 2012, the whole time I'm still growing my practice organically. And 2012, I became a partner at United Capital, which at the time was a very fast growing RIA. Joe Duran was the head of it. It was really a very good move for me at the time. And then from there, my practice kept growing and growing once I got there, because I could use their leverage, and I used everything that they had, all their systems, and I was able to really, really grow there. So it's funny. I just recently saw something that said in 2013, I was managing 60 million, and it was in the Wall Street Journal. And, now I'm at 300 million. So I thought that was kind of wild, that just because I never really thought of what I was and what I was managing in 2013, but I saw it in print. And so anyway, so then from that journey of United Capital, that was a good one from 2012 to 2019. Very, very good. I was definitely at the top of my game then. I think I was the number one woman in the country in 2019, ranked by Investopedia. I was number 4 in the US, and I think I was the number one woman. And then in 2019, my firm got sold to Goldman Sachs, which was very terrible for me. Absolutely horrible for me, because I am a marketer. I hold myself out as a financial planner. I speak, I write, I go on TV, I go on social media, and I couldn't do any of those things. So it was like cutting off my arms and my legs and putting a gag around my mouth. And they literally told me, sit in the corner, shut up, and babysit your clients. And I was like, I don't even know what to do anymore. Like, I would wake up in the morning and I wouldn't even know what to do, because I couldn't do anything that I used to do before. So, and then 2020 was COVID. So that was pretty horrible. And I spent a couple of years trying to get out of my contract with Goldman Sachs unsuccessfully, with an attorney spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I wound up quitting, running out my non-compete, and starting over. And, but of course I took my clients.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really starting over from scratch. It was just starting over at a new firm. So when I wound up on the other side of Goldman, I was actually at the wrong firm. I had a terrible contract. I had only one firm that would take me. Everybody was afraid of me. Everybody thought Goldman was suing me. So I wound up at the wrong firm on the other side of that transaction, but at least I was free. And then I spent about a year and a half looking for another firm. And again, everyone's like, why didn't you just open your own firm? And I said, because I didn't want to open my own firm, because I wanted to affiliate with a firm that already had things that I could use so I could leverage my time so that I'm not doing everything and hiring every person that I need to do all the different tasks. Because based on my size, I need a staff of at least 10. According to Michael Kitches, which I have a staff of 1.5. So it's quite different, but I'm very willing to pay a firm that already has everything. And so now I moved, I guess about almost 2 years ago. I'm at Ashton Thomas. And then this whole time I've been a CFP board ambassador for the profession, representing the profession in the media for 12 years. So I'm the longest standing CFP board ambassador. And then I've also written 2 books along the way. I wrote a book when I got out of my first divorce in 2012, and it came out in 2014, my first book, or maybe it came out in 15. And then, it came out in 15. And then my second book, I just wrote Women in Wealth for the Profession, which came out in April of 2025.
Yeah, I just read that one. I loved it. I thought it had some really good things to say and needed advice for working with women in this industry of wealth. We've typically been kept out of it, either by choice or by design, but we've kind of out of this world. And so I love
what I always say is it was wealth management was created by men for men. Women have always been an afterthought. And we're obviously going to change the whole narrative and the whole playbook, which is why my book is a playbook for the industry. And the playbook needs to be changed because women are going to control 2/3 of the nation's wealth by 2030. So here we are 4 short years away and nobody's changing.
Yeah. So I want to go back and just chat for a minute about, you said, I wasn't sure when you talked about hanging up your shingle and being a CFP, being a financial advisor, you said, I wasn't sure this was what I was going to do. Did that change at some point along your journey where you're like, oh, this is what I was meant to do? Or are you still, you're still not sure?
No. I know this is what I was meant to do. It's just it's funny because I think what I struggle with is that I don't fit into a box and I'm not one thing. I'm so many things. And so that's positive and negative, I guess, depending on which way you want to look at it. So I'm not just a financial advisor. I'm not just an author. I'm not just a speaker. I'm not just a marketer. I'm not just a CFP. I am all of those things. And so it's a bigger wrapper. And so I definitely, people just want to put you in one of those boxes.
But yeah, and you're not just one of those things. That isn't the only thing that you do. Yeah, I like that. I like that way. And I think, if we don't get around to some of the lessons that you've learned along your journey through some of these other questions that we go through, I'm going to come back and delve just a little bit deeper into that. But I'm going to see if it comes up. Yeah. So the second question is, what is the best investment you've made in yourself? If you look kind of over your whole journey, is there one thing that you can say, oh my gosh, if I hadn't done that, I would not be the success I am today?
I believe being a CFP is probably the most dollars and cents bang for your buck in what you can do for yourself. Now, obviously I have an undergraduate, I have an MBA. I was thinking about going back for my PhD, but I'm glad I didn't. And the CFP certification and marks are, we were talking about this earlier, but they are the gold standard. And I think your income really jumps once you get to that stage of where when you are officially a CFP. And it's also then, of course, what you do with it, which is the marketing part of what I did with it. And that's been incredibly helpful.
Yeah. So for those that aren't financially, I have the CFP and I fully agree with you. In fact, I've told some people, some prospective clients, I say, if you don't work with me, I understand, but please work with the CFP because I think it's
everybody that. I tell everybody that. I mean, if you think about it, if you're going to work with an attorney or a doctor, wouldn't you want them to be board certified? And the answer, of course, is yes. So why wouldn't you want your money professional to be board certified? Like I can't even come up with one reason why you would not.
Yeah, I think that people are sort of shocked when they hear that you can basically take a test and call yourself a financial planner. Like you can,
Right. Or financial advisor, which is why I don't
yeah,
use either of those terms.
yeah, like a Series 65 test. That's all you have to do.
Right.
It doesn't say that you have any special skills, but a CFP, like explain the process you have to go through for CFP.
Sure. Well, CFP, you have to have an undergraduate to start with. So that's the basic thing. Then you have to go through an education process of which takes up to 2 years. Some people can do an accelerated program, but it usually takes about 2 years. And then you have to take a board certified exam, which used to be 10 hours, is now 6 hours, and it's quite hard. And you have to take the ethics. So you have to be ethical, which means you have to be a fiduciary for your client, which means anything that you tell your client has to be in their best interest, or you can technically be sued or lose your license. So it's a different level of care and sophistication. And I don't know why anybody would not want to work with a CFP.
Yeah. And as a CFP myself, you also have to, which we would do
Continue
anyway.
education, which I
That
didn't.
continuing
Yeah.
education.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that keeping up on your skills. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that is a really big, important piece. And I think it's something that gets overlooked a lot. So, Cary, if you look back on your journey, can you tell me, have you ever gotten some really bad advice? Like, what is the worst advice you've ever gotten? And did you take the advice or did you not take it? What happened?
No, I can't think of anything like right off the top of my head other than, let's see, go to Goldman. And I remember we got our contracts the night before we were going. So they couldn't have made it where we had literally zero time to get it reviewed or signed by, looked at by counsel. And you know what? It really didn't matter because we were pretty much going over as indentured servants. So there was nothing I could do. And I remember somebody saying, it doesn't matter if you sign it or not. If you don't go, your clients are going, and then you're not getting paid. And then they're taking your clients. So I guess, saying to sign it, kind of sign it or else type thing. I guess that was pretty bad advice that I got. And then another bad advice, I just thought of another one, which was probably the worst advice I ever got in my life. This person was one of my business partners during my divorce in 2008 or 2009, around that time. I have not spoken to this man in years, but I had a terrible, terrible marital separation agreement that my horrible ex wanted me to sign. And I gave it to my business partner and I said, can you take a look at this and tell me what you think? And he said, it's great, sign it. And I did. And then I spent 2 years of my life and hundreds of thousands of dollars getting it thrown out because it was so bad.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So how would you treat those differently? If you could redo it, would you not sign with Goldman? Would you?
Well, there's nothing I could have done differently in that situation because I didn't have any choice whatsoever. When we were sold, I mean, the only thing I could have done is not gone to Goldman and moved all my clients within a 48 hour period, which is quite impossible, but could have been done maybe if I didn't sleep for that time. I don't know. I think from the time, from the time it was announced to the time that we left, which was a really short amount of time because they were trying to get us hooked and not leave, I could have potentially during that little time frame moved everybody and not been stuck in that contract with them. They still could have sued me though. That didn't mean that I was getting out of it. They still could have came after me.
Yeah. So what about a do-over? If you could go back and you had all the knowledge that you've got right now, but you could go back and redo a situation or a decision that you made or something and do it differently, is there something like that you can think of?
So I think about this often, and the only thing that I would ever do differently is not marry my horrible ex-husband. Like and then secondly, not sign that marital separation agreement. So those are the two decisions in my life that I regretted. I also another regret I have in my life was when I moved to Central Florida, Orlando area, I quit my job at Lord Abbett Mutual Funds. And what I should have done, because they wouldn't let me telecommute back then, because that was like they were kind of like old school. And this was like, a million years before COVID, where it was even a thing. And so what I should have done is I should have kept that job and commuted to Florida on the weekends. And then I probably would have I would have been able to get out of my divorce. I would have left my husband sooner, and I would have kept my job longer, and I would have figured out what's next. But I probably would have never been a financial advisor. I would have stayed in the marketing side of things. So, and then I also think if I didn't marry my horrible ex-husband, I wouldn't have met my amazing husband, who I've been with for 17 years. And so I met him in Florida, when in Orlando at the airport on the security line. And so if I never was married to the horrible human being, then I wouldn't have met the amazing human being. So I think everything worked the way it was supposed to.
Everything worked the way it was supposed to. Yeah, that makes sense. But I wonder, like, going back and talking to yourself at that point, like, you have another young lady who's coming up trying to make some good decisions, and she has the choice of a horrible ex-husband, in her future. Like, how would you say, is there anything you could have done or talked about that would have allowed you to make a different decision?
Well, I think first of all, my parents hated him, and that should have been red flag enough for me to not do it. If your parents hate him, it's probably the wrong person for you. So, and it was the only time in my life I ever disappointed my father. And so, and I still carry, and he passed, a long time ago in 2005. And I still carry that with me, that was the only time I ever disappointed him in my whole life. And so it still hurts me to this day that I did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's it's hard advice to take. And I can look back at myself and see some of those decisions I made when I was younger, where I'm like, I wouldn't do that again, given the chance. But telling my daughter, what to look for and what things to watch out for, like, I don't know. I'm not sure if you don't just have to sometimes go through those bad decisions.
You do. I feel like you do. It doesn't, because somebody could give you the most amazing advice in the world and you're still not going to take it. It's like that Alanis Morissette song, the good advice that you just didn't take.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what we do for a living. We give out good advice to our clients, and they're either going to take it or they're not. And when they don't take it, it breaks my heart. And I know what's going to happen. I know the path. I can see where it's going. I always know, and I'm always right, because I can see the future when it comes to that.
Yeah, exactly. I see that. That's a really good way of putting it. It's like you can see what these decisions they're making today, how they affect their financial plan in the future, because you've seen it over and over and over again. Right? Oh yeah. I love that. I love the way that you put that. That's so smart.
Thank you.
What about if you could go back and high five yourself for any one great past financial decision, what would it be?
Oh, I have a lot of good ones. Paying off my first mortgage, making my first $1 million. Gosh, I've done everything. I practice what I preach. So I've done everything that I tell my clients to do and more. I at one point was saving 50% of my income and investing it. So, I have more money now. I make more money from my portfolio than I do from my day job. So I think I've done everything right.
Yeah. Well, and those are, I remember reading in your book where you just talked about having that sense of, saving, not growing into your income, but saving part of it for a rainy day, and how that helped you kind of get through some of those difficult situations that you were dealing with.
Exactly. Well, I remember when they told me that I was going to quit Goldman and that they were going to come after me and they were going to TRO me, which is temporary restraining order. And I was told by 3 different people, you better have $2 to $5 million in a bank account to fight Goldman.
Oh, wow.
So that's what you had to have if you wanted to walk away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is so, it almost feels predatory. Like,
Exactly. And I kept saying to my attorney, I thought slavery was outlawed. Like, I don't understand. How am I in a contract that I can't get out of, that I can't get fired from, that I can't quit from? That, like, it just, the whole thing made no sense to me, but it was what it was. So, and now it's over. And now I'm on the other side.
What scared you the most when you started out on your journey, on your career? Was there anything that scared you, and does it still?
Well, nothing scares me. Definitely not now. I mean, absolutely nothing scares me now. I mean, I would say that 2008, the financial crisis scared me. That was, did you go through that? That was very scary for financial advisors, because it was, the US economy had a heart attack. It was on life support. We were dead. We were almost dead on the table. I had never lived through anything like that. The last time was the Great Depression, which I wasn't born for, neither were you. And so, all we had was history to look back on. And that was incredibly scary, because not only did we have to be calm, we had to be calm for our clients, and we had no idea what was going on during that time frame. So that was super scary. And I don't know if we're ever going to see something like that again in our lifetime, but I'll be able to get through it, because I've already been through it. So it won't be as scary, because it's not the first time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense that you've already dealt with it. And so you've seen the downs and ups. That was a great big down, though.
Yes, it was. So I've survived now. I mean, 9/11, the financial crisis, COVID, which was like a blip, a couple of recessions and downturns, and then whatever last April was, Liberation Day. So, and that's my whole career. And that's like, I can count them on almost on one hand.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
It's just, and what I tell my clients is, it's just a matter of how long it takes to get out of them. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. It's not like it's not going to happen. It's going to happen eventually, because it's a business cycle, but it's just a matter of how long it will take us to recover.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And 9/11 was longer even than the financial crisis to recovery.
As far as, yeah. The answer to this question has got to be a yes. But did you face any unique challenges because you were a woman?
Yes. Yes. So that's such a long answer that I could finish the whole rest of this call with that question. I would say that the only time in my life that I was discriminated against as a woman from the company was when I was at my time at Goldman. Mm-hmm. That was the first and only time I felt discrimination. I actually did speak to an attorney about it, and they said, it may not be discrimination. They may just hate you, Cary. And they don't know the difference. Like, so, and I don't know the difference either. And they hated me because I was not saying that everything was perfect, because everything was not perfect. It was a disaster. And they wound up selling it for pennies on the dollar. So I was right about everything I was saying, but nobody wanted to hear me say it. So anyway, but that was a terrible experience for me. And then the other thing is, being a woman in this profession, again, built by men for men, if women are doing the hiring, it's a little bit easier as a woman sometimes, because sometimes women want to work with women. I had a woman who was my client who gave like a referral to her friend and said, this is my financial planner. I think she's great. I think you should call her. And she goes, I would never work with a woman. A man can take care of me better. And so you get that too. So you've got unconscious bias, implicit bias. You've got, a million different things of, cultural, social, sociological norms going against you. So it is very hard to be a woman in this profession. Now, 20 years ago, it was harder. I think it's easier today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I had no role models. I had none.
Yeah, that was something that I kind of wanted to talk just a little bit about, because you were at the the beginning stages of women in financial services, women financial advisors. There's between
Yes.
15 and 20% of women
Right.
that are financial advisors right now. But when you started, it was much, you were the only woman in the room.
Always. Always. And there actually is a woman named Alexandra Armstrong, and she is actually the OG. She started, like, she's probably, and I don't know her age, but she's a lot older than me. So, cause she's been doing it a lot longer. I think she started in the 70s. So I didn't start till 2000s. So, or maybe she started in the 80s. So she started 20 or 30 years before me. And she is like, she's the woman, Investment News, the Lifetime Achievement Woman to Watch Award has her name on it. It's the Alexandra Armstrong Lifetime Achievement Award. And so she was the OG. So she was even before me, but I didn't know her until now. I didn't get to know her into my life until I'm at this stage of my career. And now she knows me well. And she just actually wrote an article about my book for Journal for Financial Planning in December of this year, December of last year.
Great. That's great. Yeah. So are there things that you learned being the only woman in the room, or being, one of the few that were in financial services back in the early 2000s, that could help not only other financial advisors, but like I interview women across the spectrum. So it's not just financial advisors. We have women in engineering and women in STEM and women in tech. Is there some lessons that you've learned?
So, yeah. So first of all, I believe as a woman in this profession, you have to be smarter than the men, just to be in the same room. You have to have more credentials. You have to have more experience. You have to have more everything just to be in the room. Okay. So that is a lot of pressure on you, because the bar is just so much higher just to be there. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing, which I think is even more important than having all that stuff, is the confidence factor, which is a huge deal, because if you don't have confidence, they're going to eat you alive. And I never thought for a second that I didn't deserve to be in that room. Ever. Not even 1 second, ever. So because of my confidence, I was invited in the room, and I kept getting asked to do things, and it, it got me clients, and it got me all the things that I wanted to get. So I think the confidence factor is really important. And whatever that means, whatever you have to do to get it, sometimes you're born with it. Sometimes you need to figure out how to get it, but you need to have it. And even if you don't have it, fake it till you make it, because that's what people say all the time. Pretend you have it, and then maybe eventually you'll get it.
Yeah. I think that part of building that confidence comes with getting the chance, taking that chance, and doing well. Part of it comes from those credentials that you were mentioning.
Right.
Part of it is innate, but I don't think all of it is. I think you can develop the confidence that you need, even if you aren't born with it. But
I think so too. It's funny when we're saying about back early in the day, believe it or not, when I started in this profession, because my dad was in banking, and I just figured I was very good with money and people. And so to me, this was just very natural. And I actually did not even realize how male dominated it was until like later in my career. Like I was just in my lane doing my thing. And I remember being at a TD Ameritrade conference, and the line for the men's bathroom was out the door, and there was literally nobody in the women's bathroom. And I walked in with a friend, and we just went to the bathroom, and I just shocked me. And I said, and I took a picture of the line, and I was like it just hit me all at once. Like, oh my God, there's literally no women. And it's always the other way around, where the women are waiting on a line and the men are walking into the bathroom, and it's the complete opposite.
Yeah. 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 That's so interesting. Where are all the women? Yeah.
Right.
Cary, what is the thing you are most proud of?
What am I most proud of? I am most proud of my business and my clients. I am most proud of my book. My second book more than my first book. My second book is like much better, because it's like a textbook for the industry. So I feel like it's gonna change how females are communicated with and treated in the profession. I'm also proud of my relationships with all my friends and family and clients. And I'm most proud of starting a sorority when I was in college. I was a founding president of a sorority that's been going on for 30 something years.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So those are things that I'm proud of.
Any advice for a young woman who's just kind of starting down this path that you are already so successful at?
So they want to be a financial advisor then, or they
want to
are
be
a financial
advisor,
Okay.
I think.
Okay. So the first thing I would tell them is please read my book, because it's going to give you a lot of ways to be successful with women. And it has, at the end of every chapter, it has questions to ask yourself, questions to ask your female clients. So it's a nice workbook for you to help you get where you want to go. You have to manage your own career because nobody else is going to do it for you. You have to put your hand up. And also it's funny because they say women, put their head down and work and just expect to be rewarded. No, you shouldn't expect to be rewarded, because you're not. Because the guy is either in the other guy's face or whatever. So what I know every single year what I do, which I've done my whole career, and it doesn't even matter because I'm my own boss, but I do affiliate with a firm. And at the end of every single year, I list my list of accomplishments and I send it to whoever is, writing my paycheck or giving me money or, something to that effect, just so they know what I did. If they missed it during the year. And I've done that my whole career.
I love that. Do you keep track of it like daily, weekly, monthly?
No, I just do it at the end of the year and I just pick the highlights.
Oh, I love that. That's a really good idea, honestly, for getting some visual FaceTime. You just say, hey, don't forget I did these really great things this year. And it helps you too to look back and say,
I call it a year in review.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that idea. That's really good. I'm going to take that away. So thank you so much, Cary, for your time today and for just telling me a little bit about your journey. I really appreciate it. If I have a young lady, and I know that you work with young women a lot in financial services, but I have someone who's interested in asking more questions or just picking your brain, how do they get a hold of you?
I'm so easy to find on social media. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. I have a website, carycarbonaro.com. So I'm really easy to find. Just Google me.
Well, thank you for your time and sharing your story with us. I appreciate it.
Awesome.